Good morning, second graders. Today we are going to read a new story called Bone Button Borscht. While we're reading the first half of this story today, we are going to make sure we are being good readers who remember to retell the important elements of a story. This is a fiction story, so we can retell important elements in a fiction story like characters and setting. What other important things do we retell in the story? You are right. I can't wait to hear you retell those things today. Remember, in this unit, we're talking about how food can nourish a community. A community is a place where people live or work together. Here are some pictures from our Lakeland community and places where we can get food in our Lakeland community. There's also a picture of a farmer's market down at the bottom. The farmer's market is where gardeners and farmers can bring their food to sell not inside the store, but in the outside of the market. And of course, we have our Lakeland Community and STEAM Center. These are all important places in our community. Before we begin reading the book today, I want to introduce you to a few new words. The first word is the word ragged. In this story, there's going to be the main character they call him the ragged beggar. Now, in this story, the author uses the word beggar to describe this person. We probably wouldn't call someone a beggar now because it's not a very nice word, but this beggar is someone who doesn't have a place to sleep and often doesn't have food to eat. So the people in the town call him a beggar. They call him ragged because his clothes are old and worn down, maybe have tores and rips and maybe dirty, kind of like the soccer balls kind of beat up. Another important word that you're going to hear in this story is cooperate. When you cooperate with a group, you are working together. In the classroom, we all cooperate together, especially during centers or maybe while we're working on the carpet together or working together at a small group table. That's the word cooperate. 3 more words that you should know before we read this text. The word cram. Cram is when you try to squeeze a lot of things into a small place. Kind of like if one of your parents asks you to clean your room and you might cram everything in your closet or cram everything under your bed to hide it from your parents. Another important word is a miracle. A miracle is something unbelievable that happened. It doesn't seem like it's real, but it surprisingly happens. Miracles can happen in a lot of different ways, and people like to use the expression often that it's a miracle. The last word is the word impossible. That means there's no way you could do something. It is not possible at all. The word impossible is important in this story. Like I said, we're going to be good readers who retell today, just like these sweet, happy kids in this picture. We're going to be good readers who retell the characters or who's in the story. We're going to retell where and when the story takes place or the setting. We're going to pay special close attention to the actions of the characters because that will reveal the problem of the story. And finally, we'll retell the ending of our story. Like I said, today we'll read the beginning of the story and we're going to retell the setting, characters, and beginning to record the actions of our main characters on our SCAPE chart. You are an expert at a SCAPE chart by now, so this will be a great tool to help us read and retell in our story. Bone Button Borscht. Here's the cover of our text. Bone Button Borscht by Aubrey Davis. Here's the picture of the main character who they call the beggar, and his clothes maybe look a little bit ragged. Let's begin. Okay. One dark winter's night, a ragged little beggar hobbled along a lonely road. It was snowy and bitter cold, but in his head it was warm and rosy. He saw a blazing fireplace and a table loaded with bowls of borscht and noodle pudding and roast chicken, fruit, nuts, and jugs of wine. And his host was saying, "More chicken, Mr. Beggar?" "Oh," and he was saying, "Oh no, I couldn't eat another bite." "Ah, there is nothing like being a beggar," he thought. "Such good it brings out in people. They share, they give, and me, I get a little something too. It's perfect." The beggar reached the crest of the hill. He peered out through the driving snow into the night. So, where's the town? He asked himself. There should be a town at the bottom of this hill. I can see it. I can't see it. And he walked downhill. As he walked downhill, small shadowy houses slowly took the shape on his left and his right. Fine, he said. Now I see the town. But where are the lights? Where are the people? He knocked on a door. Please, a little food for a poor, starving beggar, he cried. A face appeared in the frosty window, then vanished. There were footsteps, and then silence. Wonder why people are hiding from him. The beggar went to another house and knocked. Please help me, I'm hungry and cold. Go away, called a voice from within. Just let me in for a few minutes even. No, go away. So the beggar moved on from the house to house and door to door, but no one would help him. What is wrong with these people? He wondered. I'm making a connection to the story we read last week called Stone Soup, how some of the townspeople seem to be turning away a new visitor to the town. He trudged further down the road. Suddenly, he spotted a thin line of light in the snow. Okay, there's the line that he's following. Interesting. Wow. He made it to a fireplace. Now you can see the beautiful illustrations here show us that it's cold and windy and snowy outside. And he made it to a warm fireplace. But I wonder where he is. He followed it to a crack in a doorway, pushed the door open, and he went inside. It was a synagogue. Thank God for synagogues, he cried, and rushed inside. As he warmed himself by the stove, he looked around the room. Suddenly, he spotted a man in the shadows. It was the synagogue caretaker, the Shamas. Shalom Aleichem, peace be with you, called the beggar. The Shamas did not answer. Strange, thought the beggar. A glimmer crept into his eye, and the corners of his mouth turned up ever so slightly. He had an idea. He grabbed one of the bone buttons on his coat, tugged. Off the button came. Off came two more. And another. And another. Still, the Shamas did not speak, but now he was looking at the beggar. Now he was curious. Now, before I go to the next page, I want to explain that the synagogue is similar to a church or another place of worship that you would have. It's for a group of people called the Jewish people. And sometimes in the winter holiday season, we see pictures of this menorah here at the top picture in the top corner, and that is something that their group of people use to celebrate their faith. Okay, wow, what is this beggar up to? The beggar counted the buttons. There were 5. Boy, if only I had one more button, he said. The Shamas said nothing. Oi, if only I had one more button. Still, the Shamas said nothing. Oi, if only I had one more button. Finally, the Shamas spoke. Look, mister, I won't give you a button. Nobody in this town will give you a button. Why not? Asked the beggar. Because we're poor, Mr. Beggar. We don't give to each other anymore. So why should we give a button to a stranger? Why? Asked the beggar. Because with one more button, I could make us a soup. I could make a nice hot borscht. That's ridiculous, scoffed the Shamas. Impossible. Nobody makes borscht from buttons. Remember in our last story, the characters made soup out of stones? This time the character's trying to make a soup out of buttons. Interesting. Mr. Shamas, said the beggar, I'm shocked. Haven't you ever heard of Bone Button Borscht? Bone Button Borscht, asked the shamus. Let me explain, said the beggar. These buttons in my hand are very special. With just one more button from you, I can make Bone Button Borscht for the whole town. I can make you a miracle, Mr. Shamus. Naturally, the shamus was very curious. All right, he cried. I'll get you a button. And he ran to the door. Wait, called the beggar. I'll need bowls and cups and a knife and a ladle and a spoon. Oh, and a pot, maybe? The shamus sped down the road to the tailor's door and knocked. Take a look at the beggar's face. This character looks like he's up to something with that winking face. Mendel, Mendel, give me a bone button, he called. No, go away, shouted Mendel. Now, if you notice, we have the shamus is now knocking on the doors of other people. He left the synagogue and he's now knocking on the doors of people. No, Mendel, you don't understand. The button isn't for me, said the shamus. It's for the little beggar in the synagogue. He's going to make a miracle. With my bone button? Asked Mendel. What's he going to do? Raise it from the dead? Teach it to sing, maybe? No, Mendel, he needs it for the borscht. He's going to make a borscht from buttons. That's impossible, scoffed Mendel. Nobody can make borscht from buttons. Listen, Mendel, said the shamus. Give me the button. What's it going to hurt? Maybe we'll have a miracle. All right, replied Mendel. I'll give you the button, but I want to come too. I want to see this miracle. So come, said the shamus. They ran to the next house next door and knocked. Leah, Leah, give us a wooden spoon, they cried. No, she shouted. Go away. Leah, it's not for us. It's for the little beggar in the synagogue. He's going to make a miracle. With my spoon, asked Leah. What's he going to do? Use it to part the Red Sea? Teach it to dance, maybe? No, Leah, he needs it for the borscht. He's going to make borscht from my buttons. That's impossible, scoffed Leah. Look, Leah, give us the spoon. What's it going to hurt? Maybe we'll make a miracle. All right, replied Leah, but I want to come. I want to see this miracle. So come, said the shamus and the tailor. And my family too, she added. So bring them, they said. Wow, there's no words on this page. But what do you think's happening now with the characters? What actions can we see is happening just from these illustrations? I see lots of different things in these characters' hands. So Leah, her family, Mendel, and the shamus marched down the street. They banged on doors, they begged, and they borrowed cups and bowls, a ladle, a knife, and a huge soup pot. Along with these things, the crowd grew. As it chattered its way up the street toward the synagogue, others came in to their windows and doors. Wow, that is a big, big crowd. Oh my gosh, look at this picture. Another picture with just an illustration. Another page with just illustrations. What's going on with all these townspeople? What do you think is happening? What actions are you seeing just from these beautiful illustrations? Wow. All led by the shamus right here. Where are you going? They asked. What are you doing with that pot? And the people in the street replied, There's some beggar in the synagogue who says he can make borscht from buttons. That's impossible, shouted the people in the houses. But they were curious, so they grabbed their hats and coats and joined the others. That's where we're going to stop today. Now it's your job to describe the settings, characters and actions of some of these some of these characters that we saw so far. The setting is where and when the story takes place. In your notebook or typing, I want you to write an S for setting, then below it, leave some space and write C for character. Then below that, leave some lines or some space and write A for action. Then, next to the word setting or the letter S, I want you to say and describe for me where and when the story is taking place. Think about maybe the time of day it's happening or the season based on the weather we saw. Describe in your setting box what the setting of the story was. Now, in this story, we have two really important characters and then a big group of people who are kind of important. In our character box, I want you to tell me the two important characters first. The two important characters first. If you need help describing the characters, I can help you spell those names. Now, like I said, we wouldn't really call anybody right now a beggar. That's not a nice word, but that is the word that our author chose to describe this character. So I'm going to type it in the box because that is what the author chose, but I probably in real life would not call anyone a beggar because it's just not a nice word. Beggar. And then we have the shamus. He's a leader in the synagogue. And then there's the group of townspeople. Those aren't main characters, but they're important for our story. The last thing I want you to record in the box that says A is the actions of the characters. It's really interesting, the actions of these characters in this story. And everybody seems to be very curious. Now, if you need more time to write down and record evidence from the text, you can just replay this video and rewind backwards so that you can see different parts of the text. Tomorrow, we will work on finishing this SCAPE chart. Thanks for working so hard and being an awesome reader who retells important parts of a story. I can't wait to see what happens tomorrow with the Bone Button Borscht. Do you think that the townspeople and the beggar will come together and make this soup? Everyone is curious and saying it's impossible. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Thanks for working hard, friends.